Hello, and welcome to our video training series. As a CreditSuppliers customer, you'll need to get familiar with how to use our online portal to manage your account activities and records. Throughout this video series, we'll be guiding you through the basic account activities as well as diving into some more advanced functions. As always, we're here to help. In addition to these online resources, we're always available to answer your questions. You can call us at 866-922-8322 or email customersupport@creditsuppliers.com for more information. Alright, so today's video is all about how to get your first job set up. Assuming this is your first job, obviously the process is the same for every job that you put into our system. So to get moving, let's just click Set Up New Job. You can also access this from the Job Center in the navigation bar. There's Set Up New Job here as well, but I'm going to click this button here on the dashboard, and this opens up the first page of the process. So this might seem like a sort of intimidating process, but really it's pretty simple information. All we're really doing is getting all the information that we're going to need to know so that we can file the preliminary notice on both your behalf and ours as well. So if you're already familiar with how the preliminary notice process works, or if you're already filing them on your projects, this will probably be a breeze. This may be a slight learning curve for those of you that aren't filing preliminary notices on your jobs currently, but most of this information is stuff you should know for the project that you're working on anyway, or it's going to be included in your contract. So stuff you want to have handy during this process is a copy of your contract. It's best that you scan a copy in because you're actually going to end up uploading a copy to the portal. So get a copy of your contract, scan that in, and if you are doing a public job and there's bond information, instead of lien rights, you're going to have payment bonds on the job. You're going to need that bond information, such as your bond number and your surety company. So that's the information you're going to want to have handy before you get started. And otherwise, it's just a matter of going through and getting all the fields filled out. So I'm going to walk through all the different fields and kind of answer questions along the way. It's important to note that all the required fields are indicated by that red triangle, just like in our application. So if it doesn't have a triangle, then it doesn't have to be filled to be able to submit this information. Obviously, the more information you can provide is always best. So let's jump into job information. So your project type, there's a drop-down menu here, and if you need help defining these, up in the instructions section, there is definitions for some of these. It's pretty standard stuff. Are you doing a residential project, commercial project, a public project? This just helps us know what kind of documents we'll be filing or what kind of information we need. So you just select what kind of project you're doing. So let's just say we're doing a commercial or industrial job. Then down in job number and job name, these are just reference numbers and names that you're going to come up with, anything of your choosing that you want to use to refer back to this job. So I'm going to call this Cedar Lake Mall number 123. It doesn't matter, it's just whatever you want to be able to remember in your statements and in your active job box on your dashboard. That's just how we're going to refer to your project from this point on. Description of work and materials, this is the same stuff that you would put on your preliminary notice, so I'm going to pretend that I am an electrician, so I'll be putting electrical wiring and installation. My estimated start date is September 15th, and the full pre-lien amount is the amount that you're contracted for that you would need to file in your preliminary notice. So this is for work, your labor costs, and your materials. So I'm just making up a number here. Let's say $50,000. And your job credit limit is actually the amount of money that you want to set aside from your master credit limit, as we've described before, that you're going to need for your materials on the job. So if I said $50,000 for the whole job, let's say I'm going to need about 50% of that, so $25,000 in materials. Obviously, you'll have real numbers based on probably what you put into your bid or what you estimate you're going to need on your project. The job address field is the address of the actual project, so wherever this mall is being built for me. I'm going to say it's on 123 Cedar Street. Oh my gosh, can't type. And it's in Phoenix. And we're going to just go with that. Gosh, sorry guys. And I'm going to skip the fields that aren't required because we're just trying to bop through this. So since it is a commercial job, I don't need to include this bond information. That would only be if I'm doing a public job. If you're doing a joint check, just check that box. And I'm going to hit save to move on to the next part of the process. So here is where you are going to be inputting all your information that has to do with contacts. So an issue we were coming up with against a lot in our system was that people would be using often the same GC or the same sub or whoever, and they would put them in differently every time they created a new job. So our database was getting mucked up with a lot of duplicate entries. So to clean that up, we've built out a new function where you actually will put in contacts into your own profile so that you can save those and just assign those contacts you have in your big list, just kind of like how you have an email list or a phone book in your phone or whatever. You're just going to kind of build up that contact list within your portal, and that way you can have that information pull quickly. So since I'm brand new, I'm going to have to add new people for all of my stuff. So first section here is the contracted with section, which it's likely that you're contracted with will be one of these people. You're either contracted directly with the owner or contracted with your GC. Pretty unlikely you're contracted with your lender, but you know, if that's the case, like I said, I'm going to go with the path of least resistance here and just fill in the bare minimum. So contracted with section, let's click assign. And oh, I actually have some preloaded contacts. So I'm just going to use one of these and say that I am contracted with the GC, who is Farnsworth Construction. So then I can apply that over on the GC as well. And it's already preloaded, all that information is already saved, and that part's done. Now I'm going to show you how to put in a new contact just so you know. So let's just pretend we're going to add the owner information here. I'm going to click assign, I'm going to click create business contact. This is the owner field, so the owner type is property owner. That can't be changed because that's where I clicked. I wanted to add a new contact in. So for the name, it's actually a development company, so I'm just going to call it Orion Development and put in their address, which is 808 Danbury Lane. I'm not good at making up these fake addresses, guys, sorry. Let's see, we'll put Scottsdale, Arizona 85281. Oh, put that in the wrong field. Sorry. And phone number is going to be 555-123. Again, if you want to have their email address in here, it's probably a good idea. Their fax number. I'm usually a really big nerd on putting as much information as possible in here, but since I'm making it all up in my head, we're going to just save ourselves the trouble. So if I press save, then that is now saved in as my owner, and it should also now appear in my list of contacts. Let's see if that's true. If I click assign, let's look for, see now Orion Development is now a new contact in my list. So what's really cool is as you add people, they're going to be automatically added into your big contact list, so that in the future, Like, let's say you're a sub that always works with the same GC, or maybe not always, but maybe you have a really great relationship with one GC and you work with them really often. So this is going to save you a lot of time because it's going to pre-populate those fields for you. So you're just going to click them and you're good to go. So I'm just going to go with Lenny the lender here on the lender field. And here I am all filled out. The last thing I need to fill out here is my role, so I'm going to be the subcontractor since I'm an electrician today. So the last thing on this page is the additional parties to be notified. This is basically just a section that is here in case there's anyone else that we need to send a copy of the preliminary notice to. These contacts and addresses are the people who we're going to be distributing this preliminary notice to via mail. So that's why it's so important to have their address. Also, a lot of their information ends up being a part of the document as the preliminary notice. So anyway, I don't think we have any additional parties that I need to be notified for my job, so I'm just going to review all my information here, make sure that my information is correct. This should be loaded in. It's whatever you applied with, so you kind of already built your profile in the beginning when you applied. I've got all my contacts put in correctly, and I'm going to look over my job information one more time. Everything looks good, and I'm just going to hit save. Now here's the part where you're going to need that contract, like I mentioned earlier. So there are a couple ways you can submit your contract, but the easiest way, in my opinion, is just to treat this like any other website you've ever used, Facebook or whatever. Upload your contract directly into the portal. It's going to save you time and hassle, and it's not a bad idea to scan that document into your computer anyway, because we all know things happen to paperwork all the time, so it can be more organized when it's digital anyway. So let's go through how to do it if you had it on your computer. So I'll upload the contract, choose a file. I'm just going to use a random PDF I have because I don't have a contract on my desktop, but pretend this is a fancy electrician's contract for my Cedar Lake Mall project. And like I said, it's like any other thing, uploading a photo to Facebook. You just choose the file, there it is, press save, and it should upload the file. No problem. There we go. So you're going to upload the contract. Simple as that. It's already uploaded. It's now in the system, and you don't have to email it over or fax it over or anything extra effort and extra complications. So upload it right into the portal, and this is just your kind of final chance to review everything. Make sure that you uploaded the right file, you put everything in correctly, your information is all squared away, and you're going to click this agree button, and that basically just acknowledges that you are definitely working this job and that you are agreeing to having that preliminary notice sent out on your behalf, and that you're okay with that being billed through our sister company, Lien Giant, who will actually be filing the notice for you. I believe it's just like a $35 fee or something, which is pretty standard, and it's amazing because 98% of people who file pre-liens get paid and they don't even have to file a lien ever. So it's a really, really great way to secure your lien rights and ensure your payment for all that work and materials that you put into a project. So anyway, clicking agree, you're good to go. You press submit, and voila, your job has just been set up. Now, as I showed you in the video before, there is now a little info bubble here showing that your job has been created and it is pending approval by our account management, credit management team. They kind of work together, so I kind of blend them up in my mind. But so from this point, your job is done. It's going to be reviewed, and your job credit limit will be approved, or I guess possibly canceled, but it's pretty unlikely. As long as everything looks good and your preliminary notice is going to be able to be filed correctly, then we will approve you and you will see it pop up over here in your active jobs. So since I set it up as job number 123 and it was Cedar Lake Mall, that's what it's going to show up here. That's why you're going to want to name it things that you'll remember and that will be clear to you. So if you want to come up with a coded system and make it really organized that way, or if you want to just always name it something really simple, that's totally up to you. So anyway, that's really all there is, and that is the process. So pretty simple, pretty easy, and then you get approved for your job credit limit. You can start making purchases, so it's pretty exciting. As always, if you have any questions, let us know. Our next video will actually be reviewing how to go ahead and make your first purchase, so pretty exciting stuff. Keep an eye out for that, and thanks for watching.